We acknowledge the original owners of the land on which we podcast, whose stories were told for thousands of years. Today, we are recording in Meanjin. We pay our respects to elders past and present who may be listening. Sovereignty was never ceded. A quick note before we get started that there may be some swearing in today's podcast. If you don't like swearing or usually listen with children in the car, you have been warned. This episode of What in the NDIS Now is brought to you by Astolti. Astolti is the software solution for NDIS professionals built by NDIS professionals. Astolti is my go-to software, and Astolti is trusted and loved by hundreds of other NDIS providers. I love how easy it is to use and how it keeps all my participant information, notes, and invoicing all in one place, available to me anytime from any device. Sign up now for your 14-day free trial. Head to astolti.com.au to sign up now. See for yourself how much easier managing all your NDIS business needs are by using Astolti. Thanks again to Astolti for sponsoring today's episode. You're listening to What in the NDIS Now, a podcast where I, Hannah Redford, and my friend Sam Rosenbaum interview participants and providers about all things NDIS. Welcome to the podcast. Today I am without Sam, but that's okay because we've got something really awesome to bring you. We've got actually another Hannah. Welcome to the podcast, Hannah.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited you're here and to talk about what you've been doing. But first, as we always start with, where did you grow up?
So my story isn't as interesting as some of your other wonderful podcast guests, but born and raised in Sydney in the inner west and lived there most of my life until kind of about 21. Then moved over the bridge, if that means anything to anyone not from Sydney, to a suburb called Gladesville, which I still have never determined exactly what you call it, north, northwest. North Shore gets a bad rap. I've already heard that before and I know that. So I would call it northwest. Beautiful little kind of leafy suburb, just the right amount of nothing going on, but enough so I can still get my coffee and food. So haven't left since I moved there.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
So tell me, how did you get into the disability space?
You need the coffee now that we're talking about. So I've actually wanted to work in the space as long as I can remember. So when I was a kid at school, I'd always wanted to, I was always interested in working with kids in the school setting with additional needs, and whether that be a support teacher or something along those lines, or a sports coach or something like that. But when I went to university to actually study teaching, to my surprise, you're not taught anything about working with kids with additional needs at all in the curriculum. And it's actually something that you have to do on top of your studies. And actually never ended up finishing my teaching degree because I wasn't able to do what I was really interested in that space. So I actually then ended up kind of, I guess, falling into it in a sense that I've always been in the health services space on more of a management customer service side. So a job came up at a organisation that was customer service and sales, and they were a large mobile allied health provider in the NDIS. So that I feel like was a bit of a sign to take that leap out of, I was in private practice at the time and move into the space. And yeah, it's been the best move that I've made from a personal and career perspective. So I haven't looked back.
I'm so interested in you talking about the teaching degree because I knew that.
Yeah.
And the issue is then you spit out teachers at the other end who have no idea how to teach neurodivergent children or with any disability. And how to cope with children who might be in a wheelchair and might need extra help, or it's really of a huge concern to me that is huge. Our teaching degree.
Huge.
Yeah. So it's really interesting to me that you then went, nah, this isn't giving me what I wanted.
Yeah.
So I'm going to sidestep out of here.
Yeah.
So that then took you to thinking about how particularly first the allied health space works.
Yeah.
And it can be difficult to find out who has capacity,
Exactly.
where they are, what they do, 100%. How do I then book in with them? So what are you doing now?
What am I doing now? So a lot of people have probably heard me talk about this or seen it on LinkedIn because I'm becoming one of those very active individuals, but that's because I'm incredibly passionate about what we're doing, which is our company's called Connect-A-Co. So we've built a online booking app, marketplace, website, whatever you like to call it, but essentially a really easy to use, accessible way for families, support coordinators, anybody looking in the space to actually just go on, find local providers and actually book their first appointment. So that sounds, to those of you who may be listening that don't know the NDIS as well, that's how everyone outside of the NDIS has been able to access their health services. I mean, that's how I've done it most of my life.
Through like HotDoc.
HotDoc, exactly.
And those other...
HotDoc, Health Engine.
Yeah. There's a couple of them.
Yeah, and that's how I explain it to people if they're familiar with HotDoc it's that kind of concept, but for allied health in the NDIS and aged care. And, being part of the neurodivergent community myself, I've had to really learn how to manage that with my health. So I've also had a lot of chronic health issues that have meant that I've had to book specialist appointments and recurring appointments and make sure I book medication, appointments to get more medication. The irony of that. For those of you who are part of who are neurospicy, as I am, it's not my forte. So when I moved into the space of allied health and helping people get connected in with the organisation I was working at, I just immediately thought, there's no way that I would want to or be able to, without a great deal of stress and discomfort and delay, access health services. So that's where the idea of Connect-A-Co was born, and it's just kind of been on the ground running ever since.
It's really great, and it is a really easy to use platform. I've had a look at it. So how about we start from the participant side, sort of what kind of happens when they have a look, and then maybe we can talk about what it looks like for a provider.
Yeah, absolutely. So first of all, very importantly, it's free for anybody looking for services. Always will be. There is no charge associated with someone looking for an appointment, and we will always maintain that, and that will never change. So what we've done is we've tried to set it up in a way that we only ask for the exact details that a provider absolutely must have without doubt before proceeding with an appointment. So, the very key, the NDIS plan dates, the number, that individual's address, their date of birth, their contact details, and then it's optional for them to put in everything else. we've done that because and I could be misguided, and I'm sure there's a lot of people who don't agree that it should be that straightforward, but I just don't think people should have to give their entire life story to find out if there is somebody available to help them. So removing as many barriers at that very first point of engaging with the platform as we can, so that people aren't going, oh, I've got to get this, or I've got to get this history, or I've got to sit here as a mum who's exhausted and write out all these things that my child has been through. So long story short, just the key details to create their account, and then they're on their way. So looking for the discipline they need, the allied health person they need in the area when they want it, and
so you can pick like physio. Correct. In the area of...
Just say Brisbane to be easy. Yes, yeah.
In the inner city for some reason. And then, I can you also pick like male, female, like is that something?
Yeah, specifics like that.
Yep.
We do have those filters being built literally as we speak.
Okay.
And this is what I say to everyone, that tech is like renovating your house. It's just takes 10 times longer than you possibly could imagine, but it'll all be worth it in the end. So we're actually building in the full suite of filters down to clinicians' kind of area of expertise, yet their gender, languages spoken, everything like that. At this point, and this is something that I will maintain forever because I love connecting people in, is that people generally reach out directly to me if they have really, really specific needs. And then I can either check with the providers that are on the platform just to see who's the exact person that would be the best fit. But and we'll go through that, I'm sure, with the provider side of things, but I get to know all the providers really well. So when people come to me asking for something really specific, I do know who we've got, and I know who would be a good fit for them.
Oh, I love that. I love that you know the providers really well. That's so 100%. Good.
Yeah, and not about... getting as many people on as quickly as we can. We're really making sure that we're doing it in a way that is beneficial for the users, and, whether that be, well, first and foremost, obviously quality, but finding the services as well in the areas that are really lacking availability. So I get to know everyone when they come on board because... we want to make sure that, I want to know who people are finding on our platform, right? You can't, as best as I can.
Yeah. Yeah. I completely understand that. And so, okay, so that bit's coming, but then it pops up with a couple of names of companies, and then you sort of like click on one, that's the appointment we want.
Yeah.
And then... is it the service agreement that then,
Yeah, so before you even get to the service agreement part, you actually, once you click on each provider, you can see what services they have available within that discipline, say it's OT. So, if they're offering, functional capacity assessment, SEAL assessment, mental health OT. So we do get providers to be as specific as we can. And then they can... The individual searching can find the availability, and before they actually select the time, they can see the cost. So before they are even getting to that service agreement point, they do see the amount of hours that provider has indicated they need and the total cost for that. But then once they're happy to proceed, the full service agreement loads at the click of a button. So it's all there for that person to see. If it's a support coordinator, they're either able to send it to the public guardian, the nominee, participant, whoever it may be, or if they've received that explicit consent, they can sign it themselves. So, yes, depends on their preference. But yeah, so it's all there and it's all transparent and clear. So
I like that it's really clear,
Yes.
particularly about the cost,
Yes.
because I think that sometimes providers can be a bit sneaky.
Yes.
So
We were talking about that just earlier.
yes,
weren't we?
recently we were looking for some transport providers and we finally got onto one, had to then sign up and go through the whole process and get on the platform. And it was only then that I was able to access how much it was going to cost. And that's the point where I went, oh, no. That's not going to be possible.
Exactly.
And I was a bit annoyed then that I'd already had to share all of the details, all of our details, all of the personal stuff, only to then find out I wouldn't want to use that anyway.
Exactly.
So it's so annoying.
Yes.
and
How much time did that take you as well, right?
Well, it was over a series of days.
Exactly. Because no one has just hours to sit down and just do it all, right? That's the whole thing.
Yeah.
So
annoying.
Yeah.
And I like that you try to get the providers to be as specific as possible.
Yeah.
I constantly tell providers, sing this song so often about having a niche or like a specialty or, whatever you want to call it, because particularly as a parent, but as a human being, I want to know that you understand
Exactly.
whatever I've got.
Exactly.
And whatever I'm dealing with. I don't want you to just kind of be guessing.
100%.
And whereas a generalist will be like, they might know bits and pieces.
Yeah.
And it's not totally foreign to them. But it's always so much better if they can go, yeah, I work a lot with people with MS.
Yes.
And then you go, great, well, that's the one for me then.
Yes, exactly. And I tell providers, look, obviously we really want to make sure that, we are helping people find services as much as we can. But I do always say to them, put up what you actually want to do, because I think that everyone has that fatigue of, yes, I can do it. And then they read about that individual and then no, they can't. So similar to what happened for you, obviously that was also funding related, but it's, I'm really, really clear with the providers on what service we're trying to deliver and how we want them to partake in that and what that looks like for the user, because, if they want back and forth, if they want kind of yes, no, they would stick to the traditional way of, or not traditional, but the current way of doing it. So, we're very clear about put up what you can do and leave it at that. There's plenty of work for people, as we've all said that 1,000 times, but the last thing that we would want to do on our platform is just be another, oh, yes, we can, no, we can't. That's exactly what we're trying to take away for people to have to navigate.
Yeah, yeah. So often as a support coordinator,
Exactly.
I would have a company say, yes, we've got capacity, no worries. And then I go, oh, great. Go back to the participant with their 3 choices.
Yes.
And then they pick one and I go, awesome, send all the details. And then they go, oh, actually, now that we've seen all the detail, no, we don't want to do that. And
Exactly.
I'm just like, why? Like, this is the same information you had before.
Yes.
What do you mean?
Exactly. It's like if you, I don't know, I can't even draw, to be honest, I can't draw a comparison, right, for outside the NDIS of that kind of thing.
No.
You don't, when you go and see a physio for the first time or a doctor for the very first time, you don't have to give every ounce of detail of your life or the person you're caring for life before you can see them. But if you see them and absolutely worst case scenario, there is someone else that would be a better fit, that's where a handover comes in. And I know that we want to avoid that and we don't want to disrupt participants. And I totally understand that. But I'm also of a firm belief that if you say you can do it and you're working in this industry, you need to do it.
Yeah.
And there's going to be a few people who don't like that. But if you see somebody and that first appointment, you find out, oh, okay, actually, no, someone else would be a better fit. We're all very good at networking, and without doubt, you would know someone off the top of your head immediately that you can hand them over to. Great, you've already done the assessment. You don't have to do the assessment again. You can show them what you've done, give them all the documentation and move on, rather than this, we've got to try and make sure that everyone is a perfect match in every single way. That's really hard. So,
well, in social work, there's a principle of no wrong door.
Yeah.
And to a degree, it works, and then sometimes it's a bit fuzzy.
Always the way.
And it's that idea that if you can't take it on whatever, for whatever reason, it's not quite fit in with what your business usually does, the idea is that then you do hand it on. You say, I'm not the one, but here is who is.
Exactly right.
And let me send them an email and tell them all about you. How does that sound? And making sure you have consent to send,
of course, absolutely,
the information as well. But it is something that I've always been super passionate about.
Yeah.
Because when there were times when I was doing support coordination that we didn't have capacity.
Yeah.
And that's fine for anybody.
Exactly.
Like, it wasn't like I was like, no, that's
that
just
particular.
that particular one.
Yeah.
It was nobody. And so I'd go, look, not at the moment.
Yeah.
But here's a few other support coordinators that I really like.
Exactly.
Let me know if you want me to have a chat with them or email them or whatever. And I think people appreciated that more rather than just a no.
Yes, 100%.
And I think if you give someone a good feeling when they've dealt with you, even if at that point it was a no, they might either tell someone else and go, oh, I had a really good experience with these people, even though I didn't go with them.
Yeah.
Later down the track, it might come back to help you.
100%. And I think most people that I've met genuinely are in this industry to help other people. And one of the many, many reasons I started Connect2Co is I genuinely get like a thrill out of helping people find services. Like that feeling of, helping a mum who has been looking for ages for an OT in, maybe it's not even a rural area, but just hasn't had the time or the space or the support to get there. Helping them find it is just like a feeling I just like no other. And for me, and this is what I say to everyone, I'm kind of like the walking physical version of our website and app. So, it's not just that's it and off you go. It's very much of like, if you come to me and we don't have it, I use my network to still connect you. I'm not going to be like, oh no, it's not on the platform, so bye. Like, I get such a thrill out of helping people find the services because I know that there are so many amazing providers and people out there that can help, and so many of them have capacity, and it's just the time that it takes one person to find that other one person. Not many people have it, but I basically live and breathe it. So, anyway, I get carried away, but that's what other people should do, right? Like, that's how it's meant to go.
Yeah.
That's how it's meant to go.
I think so.
Yeah.
So we've talked about the participant side. So let's talk about the provider side of your website.
Yeah.
So when we last spoke, you talked about there was one price.
Yes.
And people couldn't pay more to be higher or bigger or something. And that was something I was blown away with and I loved.
Yes.
So can you tell me a bit about that?
Yeah. So how we've structured our costs for providers is it's based on the size of your team rather than, amount of services offered or areas covered. And like you've said, we don't have any sort of tiers or, extra costs associated if you want to come up at the top of the search results. So we've done that because I just think that there are a lot of spaces out there where the same people come up every time, and that's because they have the highest marketing budget. And whether that be on Google or other search options, you generally see the same names every time. And that's not their fault. They have the marketing budget, but they often don't actually have capacity, or because they are really big companies and they are getting lots of referrals because they are big companies and they have big marketing budgets. So how we've structured it is, who comes up is actually who is just what you've searched. And the first person to come up is the closest to what you've searched. And that's it. End of story. That's how we'll keep it forever. And it's something that I didn't even have it wasn't even a second thought. I didn't think of doing it any other way. And it's turned out to be like a really important point of difference and something that people really enjoy about the platform, that probably more than I could have imagined. And I think I've got that, what is it? It's the thing where it's big. You don't, in Australia, it's not tall poppy syndrome, but, it kind of is because, you're always the little guy and you're like, damn you, big companies. And, I thought that was me just being competitive and a bit petty. But the more that I have gotten to know this industry, the more passionate I am about, making sure that it's not about big. Like, bigger isn't better necessarily. There are a lot of great companies, massive companies doing amazing things, but there are so many amazing small companies. And if we could do the whole platform for free, I would. It's about, we wanted to have a fee structure that is accessible to organisations of all size so that everyone gets an opportunity to be seeing participants, to get their name out there, but also for the participants to get to meet these small providers who have amazing standards of care and immediate capacity in its true literal sense, which means not 4 to 6 weeks. It means maybe even this week, So we are really, really adamant on maintaining that. And we've had some people, walk away because they can't pay to be up at the top. But, it's more important to us to maintain that integrity.
It blows my mind that a company would walk away because they can't pay you more.
But you know why? It's because they don't have the availability. So they know that if it's because it comes up in order of availability, it's not going to work for them necessarily, or maybe they won't be the first person. So, walking away probably sounds more dramatic, but they've not loved that. And we've had people say, no, but really, what can I do to come up at the top? And I get it more than anything else now, starting my own business. I totally get it. I guess it's just been this thing with the platform, or, that I just couldn't have anticipated such a positive response. And it's just made me more and more glad that we've done it that way. So, yeah, that's how it works.
I really like that.
Thank you.
You have a really cool jacket.
Oh, wait, have you seen that in person? It's in my car.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think when we first met
Yes,
really
that's
briefly.
right. Yes.
Yeah. And then I've seen it on
jacket.
LinkedIn. Yeah, this cool jacket that has connector coat and the colours, and it has a specific name, and
like bomber or varsity jacket. I don't know,
Yes.
one of those.
Yes.
One of those. Yes.
and it's so cool. And I'm like,
you.
she's got jackets.
Yeah. Well, I'm always cold, except when I'm in Queensland, because what is the humidity today? That can't be right. It's way hotter than that. There is no way it is like less than 90%. Well, in Sydney, no, it's humid in Sydney too, but it sounds silly, but like we're trying to do things differently. And whether that be a jacket or our drink bottles, which I don't know if you've seen those too, but they're pretty cool. I've got some in the car, so I'll definitely bring them in.
Okay.
We're just trying to do things differently and bring a bit of life and fun into it, and like I see my jacket as it's like a physical representation of like I'm not going to get the same jacket everybody else has because, first of all, I've worn one of those consistently for like 2.5 years, and I'm like, if I put one of those back on ever again, I will implode. But, we're here to make a difference. Like that's part of my, condition. That doesn't sound right. My ADHD-ness, like I do things 100%, right? So I'm not going to get any old jacket. I'm going to get a Connector Co coloured bomber jacket with my logo on the back and my name on the front. And, I, more than anything else, just want people to know we're here and we exist. And there you go. See, a jacket. You've seen the jacket. I met someone the other day who was like, "You're the company with the cool drink bottles." And I'm like, yeah. So, just about making a difference,
Yeah. I love that because I think trying to do it a bit differently and not the way everyone expects, and that you're trying to set up a platform so that participants don't have to call around 20 different places.
Yes. And support coordinators and everyone. Yeah.
And I just think it's such a great idea, but not just the idea, because others have had this same idea.
Exactly.
But the fact that you are also got a lot of ethics behind it about people can't pay more to be at the top. Yeah. It's the same for everybody. And it's just such a great idea. I love it so much.
Thank you.
Oh, now, one bit I know I've forgotten is that you've started with Allied Health.
Yes.
So is it just Allied Health on there at the minute?
So, yes, as of about a week or two ago. We originally started onboarding because my background is allied health, so I really understand that space, and I know the needs and the demand and what people kind of from both sides are looking for. We did start onboarding other service provider types, but I just, after really seeing where that gap is with allied health and that really, I guess, not intense need for an appointment in the allied health space, we've actually dialed back. So, it just is allied health. And to be honest, for the foreseeable future, will stay that, because for me, I kind of had a realization where, a lot of people, when they think, support work, they think higher up or Mabel. I know it's definitely in Sydney, and that's, lots of people who aren't even in the NDIS know about higher up. I want to be that for allied health. I want people to go, oh, I need allied health, and just think Connector Co. straight away. It's just easy. They know it. That's where I'll go, and I will find someone. So with that, it also comes, the time and the effort that I want to put into making sure that we have allied health available in every corner of Australia, which is huge. So that's plenty for me to get on with for now. So we made the decision to just do allied health, do it really well, fill out every corner of the country, or at least the East Coast for now, because getting my frequent flyer miles up. So yeah, just allied health for now, but doing it really, really well and making sure that people have choices no matter where they are.
I love that. I've always been really passionate about doing the one thing and doing it really well.
Yeah, me too.
And knowing that, the company that is either just doing allied health or they're just doing physio or they're just doing OT, they do that. And because that's all they do, they know it so well.
Exactly.
And it is infuriating to me when you have
I do everything.
that do everything, pretend to do everything.
Yes.
Because you can't.
No.
You can't do everything well.
No.
And I love that you were like, oh yeah, of course we want to put on others.
Yeah.
And then went, hang on a second, no, we want to do this allied health really well.
Yeah.
Because that's awesome, because you could continue just signing people up all over town.
Yeah.
And then you've gone, no, I'm going to reject that money.
Yes.
And I'm going to go and do this narrow bit really well.
Yeah.
And to me, that is awesome.
Well,
I love that so much.
Good. It's a recent decision, so I'm glad to hear some positive feedback. But, well, I just think, like you said, I mean, as a small business, but also as someone who's bad at saying no, there's a few things. Like, you could just bring on anyone and everyone because there are so many providers. And sure, okay, that is potentially more money, but it's not really fulfilling the purpose right now. And the other thing is that it's hard to say no to people, because the reason we started onboarding other kind of services is because people were either looking for them or asking us, or people saying, can I? And again, I was like, yeah, why not? Like, our whole purpose is to connect people in. But when we started doing that, I immediately didn't have as much time or focus on allied health. It's just that thing. It's you can't put 100% into 10 different baskets. So, and we I think actually what else really helped us shift our focus was we went for a grant that's kind of focusing on working with kind of smaller groups within the NDIS and making sure that whoever wins this grant, fingers crossed it's us, we should find out any day now. So everybody who's listening, fingers crossed, toes crossed, help us please, because it means we would get money to put towards really focusing on regional and remote areas and Indigenous communities and the LGBTQIA plus community as well. So when we started working on that grant, and I kind of thought, well, actually, how amazing would it be if we could make sure that we're actually meeting the needs of all those communities as well? I went, let's just do that, regardless of whether or not the grant comes through. That would just make it quicker for us, and we could do that sooner. But it means, there's plenty to get on with in that space. So, yeah.
Well, absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely there is.
Yeah.
That's so awesome. I love that so much. So we've come to the point of the podcast where I'm going to ask you our major question.
Been practicing this on the plane.
In your ideal world, what would the future of the NDIS look like?
I think this is it's a big question. And, I'm like you, Hannah, and I've heard you say it on your other episodes as well. Like, I think the NDIS is great. I think we're so lucky to have it. So lucky. It's not perfect. nothing that is that new is perfect. I wasn't perfect when I was 10, as much as I would have liked to think. But, so I think we're really lucky to have it. But I think what I really would like to see, and something that we're striving for with our platform, is clarity. That is the word that every time since we've talked about this podcast and I've started listening to all your episodes and you've asked that question, to be honest, it was like the first word that came to my mind. And there are so many parts of the scheme that need work, but I just think that in so many ways it just should be and could be a lot clearer. So, example with Connect-A-Co, you can actually see who is available and book an appointment. That shouldn't be revolutionary. We shouldn't be the first people to do that. I'm stoked we are, because I love being that person, but like, why, right? And, I think what happens is, like, the media as well, which we're never going to be able to change, but so many things that go on in the scheme then get kind of convoluted and posted in the media, and it just causes panic. And I just cannot imagine what it would be like to be a participant or someone looking after a participant or anyone. It's just causes so much extra stress. And I just think that if we can be a bit more clear with communication and the way we do things, I think that would help people a lot. And I think it would take a lot of frustration away. And I think that it makes it sound easier than it will be, me saying it like that. But that is part of what we're trying to do with Connect-A-Co, is just take away the noise, take away some of that extra, just mess that you don't need. So clarity, clear, that was what I'd like to see.
Well, I love that answer.
Phew.
I think it always delights me when someone comes up with something new.
Yeah.
I mean, it happens so often, because we often have very different answers. And it's part of why we ask this question.
Yeah.
So because it is such a subjective answer.
Yeah,
and
incredibly.
it is a big question.
Yes.
And it could be flipping anything.
Yes.
And so I just love what people can come up with from their point of view and their perspective of what they see in their corner of the NDIS. And it's so fascinating to me. And I think that you've come up with something that I think Bill Shorten is pretending to try to address.
Yes.
And instead is fucking it up more.
That's the thing, clarity.
Yeah.
What in the heck is going on?
Yeah. Yeah. I think Connect-A-Co does a really good job of helping to organise a participant's corner of the NDIS.
Yeah.
And I think that it is so valuable for that.
Yeah.
And it does cut out the noise of trying to figure out where to go and who to look for. And we've seen that a fair bit in plan decoders, because people sort of say, well, I don't even know where to start.
100%. And that's actually how we met.
Yeah.
I saw what you were doing. I saw plan decoders. I saw a post about it. I think I just added you. Great name also. Spelt the right way. Added you, messaged you because, it's sorry to cut you off, but it's we're working towards that same purpose of families coming. And I think the post that I saw that you did about your why and what plan decoders can achieve, and I think you did say something about, I don't know where to start. I was like, it's like she's inside my brain. Yeah. So anyway, sorry, I got excited then. But you're working towards that.
Yeah. And so, and I think that's why I'm so excited about Connect to Co.
Yeah.
Because then I can say, well, there's this website where you can start if you want to.
Yeah.
And at worst, you could just scroll through them and have an idea of what exists out there.
Yeah, it's a starting point.
And so I just love it so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Until next time.
Yes, hopefully soon. And I'm sure we'll have lots to do with, each other in the future, because we're definitely, I'm so grateful that we have connected, because I do really think it's working towards the same purpose. And thank you for having my first ever podcast. It's been not as scary as I thought. So thank you.
It's never as scary as you think.
I won't be listening to my own voice, though. That will be scary.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening. Please share with people you know. Until next time, as the Green Brothers say, don't forget to be awesome.